Okay, H Radio 223 part-timers, 223, yeah, part-timers, man. This is lesson three, last one for the week. It's going to be nice and short. We are going to be talking about PPMs, and I thought it would be great to start off with a video. Right, here from this man who's going to explain the difference between diaries and PPMs. There he is.
I had a friend on Facebook ask me a question that just reminded me of so many other people who have written in, over the past few months asking pretty much the same thing. And they were PDs who were in small markets or media markets or just a market somewhere where PPM did not exist. They were still under the diary system. And the question was basically, what's the difference? What's the difference between a diary market and a PPM market? How do they work? What's different about them? Can you explain that? So that's what I'm going to do today. Hey Buckaroos, I'm going to go back in one of the earlier lessons from, I don't know, probably well over a year and a half ago. And what I find is I've been going back in the older lessons as I'm trying to, look at things of what I taught before in a longer form and put them into this step-by-step stuff. I find that a lot of the old lessons were really long and I was covering, way too many things probably. But one of the things that was buried into one of the long lessons was what's the difference between a PPM market and a diary market? Like, what's the difference? How do you explain that? So I went back and took a piece out of one of the older lessons, and it's just a segment when it makes it really easy to understand the difference of when you're wearing a PPM monitor, which is like a little pack of cigarette type thing, and it's stuck on your belt or wherever you want to put it so that, it can hear, not deep in a purse where it can't hear anything. And the other side was simply a diary that a listener will get a diary and they have to fill it out. And what that causes, and it causes some significant difference, really. And, and that's what this old lesson, as I'm just cutting it out, will go through. So let's do that now. When there's a meter in play and you have a meter and it's sitting in your pocket or it's on your, on your belt like a pager, it's picking up everything. So if you went into a doctor's office and you're waiting, to get, say, your, teeth cleaned in a dental office, if there's music playing, it's going to pick it up, even though you're not listening to it. Okay, so you don't think of, if you're in a diary, you don't think of actually listening to that radio station. That's not going to cross your mind. I went, I got my teeth cleaned, big deal. But for the entire time you're waiting, and probably, because it's playing throughout usually the whole office, by the time the person's sitting in there for, I don't know, half hour, 40 minutes, cleaning your teeth and doing the grinding and all the stuff that they do, that meter is registering that other radio station that you normally don't listen to. So that's one thing. So, sort of there's a cause and effect there. Now, let's take it in a different way, because in the diary method, the entire onus really is on you to capture a person's mind. And that's where having a radio station where somebody loves the radio station and there's passion in the radio station and it really matters to people about the radio station, that's why it becomes so important, because you're actually trying to dredge up their memory to write down your radio station. So here's like a typical day that probably would happen. I mean, I could see this happening for, tons of people, okay? Let's make the math really easy, ignoring when people normally go to work, and they probably go to work earlier than what I'm about to describe, but just to, to make the point. Okay, their alarm goes off at 7 o'clock. Bang, it goes off and the radio station starts to play, and it's their favorite radio station. It's the morning person that they like to listen to. So they're lying there in bed for about 5 minutes, and maybe they have it go off at 7 o'clock so they actually hear the news, if the news is on the top of the hour for headlines or whatever. Anyway, they sit there for 5 minutes, like drowsy. Then they finally get up out of the bed, and then they start going, mopsing around, and they're going to go down. Maybe they go into the master bathroom. Maybe if they're in an apartment, they have to go down the hall because there is no master off of the bedroom. They go down the hall. Now they're out of earshot of that radio station. If they had a meter, the meter's not picking it up, but in their mind, they're still listening to the radio station. They're in there and maybe they brush their teeth, maybe they sit and go get into the shower. Clearly, with the door closed in the shower, they're not listening to the radio station. But if it's a diary person, they're still when it comes time to write it down. Okay, because they write it down at the end of the day. Maybe they might do half of it somewhere in the middle of the day, although that's kind of unlikely. So everything is memory. So anyway, I'll keep going. So they're taking the shower. They dry off in the room. They go back out again. Maybe they walk back into the bedroom. They hear the station playing again. They're in the bedroom. They get dressed. If it's in a house, they go downstairs. Usually probably will turn the radio off and go downstairs. Now, no radio is playing. When they get down to the kitchen to eat, they may not turn another radio on, or they may get down there and their kids are already there. Unlikely if they got young kids, but anyway, if the kids are there, or the wife or husband has beat them to it and got down there, they may have a totally different radio station on. But let's just say it's the same station as they had in the bedroom. Anyway, there was a time lag from listening when they woke up to getting downstairs and listening again. There's a hole there for the meter, but there's not going to be a hole there for the diary. So now they're in the kitchen, they're eating, they hear the station, blah, 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 and all that usual stuff. And then, okay, good, maybe they turn the radio off and they go out to their car and, they're going to get in the car and then they're going to drive to work. Or they're going to get in a subway or something, depending on the city that they're in. Let's say they get in the car. Okay, they're in the car. Now, they might have done this. They might have been on an all-news radio station or a news station, that type of thing, when they were at home. But then it's like, okay, I got the news. I'm in the car. Let's hear some tunes. And they might throw on a classic rock station or a top 40 station or something on the drive to work. So now, legitimately, there's two different radio stations that have gone on there. And then they get to work and, they get out of the car, they turn their car off, and then they go in, and then there's a completely different radio station playing. Maybe it's like an office type AC station playing in the office, and it's on all day long. When it comes time for them to fill out the diary, high odds that this is what ends up happening. The station that they woke up with, they go, well, I wake up at 7 o'clock. I leave for work at 8 o'clock. Okay, so I listen for an hour, and they'll just write down one station, 1 hour, whatever that main station was. And then when I get in the car, I usually listen to the classic rock station. Okay, well, it took me 5 minutes to get to the car. So 8:05, now I'm on the classic rock station, and I get to work at 8:30, so that's what I listen to, on the classic rock station. And then I turn the radio off. And then they'll have a routine maybe for coming home in the afternoon. And decent likelihood that nothing for that station at work is going to be there because they didn't turn it on. It wasn't their choice. So if it's not something that is really a favorite of theirs and really registers to them that, it's one of their radio stations, it may never get listed. So that's why it's incredibly important to capture the people's mind and the image of your radio station. And they need to have passion for it. Just playing 8 in a row or just being this or just playing a bunch of music, that's not going to get it. You need to get passion in a diary market, which is usually the smaller markets, usually 50 and below. You need to have people really love your radio station. It also comes into play very much so in having people remember what station to go back to. Because they may be bouncing around and they hit a station, oh, I really like the station. And then the next time they're in the car, I don't remember which one it was, and they just keep bouncing around. So memory is a big thing. Hopefully that explains the difference between a diary method and the PPM method. All right, so we're going to continue on with the step-by-step D, and you're in a new market. And what do you do? And I just thought I'd throw this in as a little extra to help you along.
A great extra. Yeah, that was great. Okay, nice, clear. Um, Basically, what I'm going to say in this lesson, and that's why I'm going to make it quite short, was literally all said in that particular video. Really good, clear explanation. But let's anyway have a look at lesson 3 for the week. Right. Okay. So of 5 is what we are looking at over here. Let's go to the second slide. All right, and where are you going to be drawing this information as a reference in your book? Well, from Beyond Powerful Radio, there's the Portable People Meter, page 472, chapter 34. And in Next Level Radio, there's chapter 11, page 426 to 430, 11.2.2 ppms, as well as 11.2.3, the digital measurement methods that we use to now also track, let's say, how many listeners are active and how many, we can base decisions on and so on and so forth, right? So, okay, so as you saw in the video, we now start here. In a nutshell, PPM offers an immediate data, like obviously data recall, right? Up to minute results 24/7. So it's a little device that more than likely we don't use, more than likely don't use here in South Africa. It's quite expensive, I'm saying, for a station to obviously invest in enough ppms, like sorry, page, yeah, ppms, right? To be able to share with enough people, audience, to track them, to be able to get this type of data at the end of the day, right? But it is like a little small. If you don't know what a pager was like, it was a small little device that, oh man, I think even when I was in high school, oh my word, so in the 90s, the pager would tell you, someone would send you someone call, whatever it is, on like a landline or whatever it may be. I don't actually know really how they work because I never had one, right? I just remember some of the fellow students in my class, like scholars, had their own little pages, right? Where they would, let's say, they would get like a little message, right? Saying that there was a phone call from this, or here's a message from this, or whatever it is. And obviously, I'm sure it had the competence to actually play out, let's say, like let's say you left a voice message or whatever it may have been. I'm sure it did that. But at a basic thing, it was a notification device, right? Pages. So you had more. So if you missed a call, let's say you were at school, or let's say more likely, because I mean, it's kind of like, I say irresponsible because it was silly to have a grade 10, grade 11 have a pager, but more likely for an adult, if they missed a phone call that went to their landline back in the 90s, it would be good to be able to see who called and when they called, so that, let's say, this person could return the call once they got to, let's say, like a landline somewhere, wherever it may be. There were obviously many different like public phones back then, and so on. And yeah, it was a great time to live, man. No, no, let's not rip it off. I liked the 80s and the 90s. Anyway, through data direction and GPS technology, can record what stations, obviously, the respondent has been exposed to, but then the radio frequencies also sent by the radio stations can be encoded with data that can be decoded by that particular ppm. So obviously, like so in the video, it has a movement sensor. It always is there to show where this person is. Like, are they at a shopping mall? Are they driving? Are they this? Are they at the gym? Whatever it may be. And it can pick up obviously date and times, as well as how long that is that you do listen to a particular radio station for, right? So the data that this little device does pick up and is then accumulated, right? Accrued and accumulated into, obviously, like the back end of the software that will then create reports and obviously diagrams and whatever it may be, right? Is then collected and weighed up and down to represent a group of people, like similar to paper diaries. That you saw an example of. So when is it they were on, like 7:28 this morning, and what they're listening to. And the advantages of obviously using a ppm are the following. You don't have to remember what you listen to, unlike obviously like a diary. You might forget, it might be inaccurate, you might forget the station. Also, you might not. Like, because there's quarterly hours, you'll say, "Ah, but I was like listening some, I'm not too sure, maybe around about like 23 past to somewhere around maybe 22." And so the accuracy is obviously a little tainted within a diary, and so this one can be, obviously this one is digitally recorded and, like we said, on the go. So like, it's on the point accurate. So As everything is recorded automatically, data is more precise. It's collected up to the minute or up to the minute data is collected, and the RAM can only provide an approximate of all quarter hours based on what listeners remember to listen to, as I've just mostly explained, right? So here's the disadvantage, right? And you can kind of imagine, and also again from that video answers a lot of questions. It is, it's not quite accurate because because of your, like, let's say your daily habits, right? So your daily routine includes, like we said, the showering, falling asleep, like on the couch, watching TV or whatever it is, or again going to the gym, or and perhaps maybe these are not particular places or times that you do actually listen actively to, or actively passively active to a radio station. So it's going to measure something incorrectly. The measures obviously the device will measure the most prominent tagged media in the room. So one, like you're going to be listening to radio with a TV on, it's going to pick up the TV first. If you've fallen asleep with the PPM on, it's going to measure that you're a listener, and as long as you like moving, which we do in our sleep every few minutes, right? Or even like I say, I wasn't going to say intertwined, so like interchangeably, erratically so. So some people, like myself, are very busy sleepers. It will pick it up and will track it throughout the night, you know. Whereas people like my sister, my one sister, just it's almost as if, and I'm knock on wood, like if you look at her, not that I've stared watch to see that sounds creepy, but I know she stays in one spot because she's a heavy sleeper. So nothing wakes her up. Oh my word, like to make noise, man, be I mean, things happening, nothing wakes up. Anyway, so it will drop obviously the measurement with a listener like my sister, as opposed to one like myself. It's expensive and is obviously it has to be kept charged. Otherwise, let's say the person listening to it forgets to charge. I actually put my phone in our sidebar to charge. Right, like right now, I have to remember, and you have to remember to keep your devices charged, right? A PPM, like any other device that we now charge, which is pretty much a predominant amount of device we use in our everyday lives, right? Okay, we can forget to do it, right? And it can go dead overnight. So then it stops obviously recording. I'm saying the data and or yeah, well then it's obviously inaccurate, right? Okay, so you have to commit to wearing it for a full year. Good Lord, okay. I didn't, even though I've done this lesson before, I do not remember that, but that's super interesting. Anyway, most media businesses are trying to find ways to convert their listeners into users of their digital content streams because it's very easy. What we do is we track users on the net, right? So we can track users repetitively only if they have subscribed with a username or something like that. But we can't track an individual like a user here with that particular device's what is it like it's obviously got its what is that number? It's got its own serial number, whatever it is, etc., etc., etc. We can't differentiate. We don't have that type of technology. We don't, not here in South Africa. To be able to say that if this person is not in some or other way, right, again, database, right? It's a good way of saying it. We can't see whether or not those individual listeners are unique listeners, right? Okay, at any one particular point, or they are repeat listeners at any one particular point. So, for example, I'm just going to use this and to an extreme where let's say online stations, or you've heard, I mean, we know there are a few online stations that are prominent here in South Africa. And they will say to you, oh, we've got, let's say, 57,000 listeners. Those are accumulated unique listeners, right? In other words, I can be a unique listener today, and I can be a unique listener on next week, Friday. Do you understand? That is, so we can't trust those numbers. And when you do see that, it's more for show and tell and not really actually for marketing reasons. Because at any one point, because I've worked on online as well, there's obviously even base software will track for you and say two people are listening right now, five people are listening right now, 12 people, 30 people, 50 people, right? And so like it's not 57,000 listeners that is accumulated for as long as that particular online station has been live, right? Okay. So if a radio station can get listeners to obviously engage with their content online, sidebar, going back to the digital space, right? They can obviously learn more about how listeners want to consume and obviously respond to content. So that's why we push. We push more to have a digital presence and have really good content that is either shareable or one that is engaging or it is informative. No one has to, engagements are obviously the best, right? Because that means you have someone that's been immersed enough to react to. But we also have to look at the quality of content as well before we decide, oh, this is a good little, like you're doing well in terms of the digital space and your like online content versus someone else, right? Because we've seen that on TikTok, on Instagram. There's people that with like I saw a person yesterday with 3 million views. And it was okay, it was a fun little video. This poor kid was drawing water from a well, and obviously the bucket now hit the kid on the head. But in like it really hit him, man. It was funny. It's cruel. I'm saying to laugh at something like that, but it had 3 million likes. 3 million likes. That's insane. But it's not great content. It's not something that we would share. I'm saying as a radio station, the content we share digitally, right, has to reflect like us as content creation professionals, right? Content, yeah, creation professionals. That's right, right, and that is really important. So we need to know that we are creating a great portfolio, right, of evidence that what we do on air, right, what we listen to on air is just as good as what we do online as well, right? Okay, and that we all fail at certain times with, and we all succeed at certain times with. Right? Okay, we'll get in at a later point. I'm saying to like actual digital media. All right, so digital measurements. So this is extremely versatile. We can range from geolocated dates, right, data, or like where this is from, to rich data that contains media owners' personal information. As I said, that we can. I mean, if you're going to use a PPM as a sidebar, right, you'd obviously have to register that, like all your details and stuff. So the station will pick that up as opposed to like as was saying to you with digital measurements in a streaming radio station, not on a streaming radio station, right? Okay, anyway, the value of collecting the rich data and the cross-referencing with other sets of information is that one can start to tell a story. Like for example, like this person, once again, the same way we would read data within our RAMs and obviously further research that we do, we could start to relate certain context. So, for example, we find that women, let's say within our target market, are more likely to buy luxury items, like let's say, for example, ice cream and like treats, like would be like I don't know, like takeouts and champagne or whatever it is on a Friday and a Saturday. Then obviously from a Monday to let's say a Friday morning, right? Okay, so now we can start targeting particular products, right? Okay, products that aim specifically that are female focused, right? And make sure that they are being obviously pushed and promoted and scheduled for those times, that particular, obviously, let's say like on Friday, a Saturday, and let's say a Sunday, right? Okay, because if that particular woman or a woman of that type of description or fits that type of description, hears that, they're going to be like, oh, if this is a special and it's right down the road and it's with a brand that I anyway, like a brand or company or retailer that I anyway shop at, like I'm going to go buy like double maybe or whatever it may be. Or let me, like I'm going to have like a bit of a, like friends get together. I'm going to totally go and save some money there. That's what we're saying here, right? There's a story to be told if we can start to intertwine more complexities or more complex understandings to contexts of what our user not userman no, like the listener is the user in this case because a user is referenced to a digital context, right? But what they're doing, right? What they buy, what ads work for them, etc. So this means obviously advertisers can begin to understand how to target their audience better so they can reach their potential customers. As I said there, rather put a special on certain champagnes, like that is advertised on a Thursday and a Friday morning, so that, for example, this particular customer, this particular potential client could be like, okay, look, I'm definitely going to go grab what I would probably do maybe once a month or maybe every 2 weeks, or whatever, and go and save myself more money. And then things we can align that with something called basket analysis, right? Where, for example, we could promote other. Normally, basket analysis happens within obviously like a shop or a retailer or a supermarket, whatever it is, where they will couple so in other words they will place certain items together based on a specific customers lifestyle habits, right? So, for example, with the champagne, what would you also like? Definitely some, let's say, I'm going to say upmarket cheeses, definitely some snacks, that type of stuff. And so if I couple them together, let's say in store, and we get to radio in just a moment, right? I know that I can up my sales most definitely, right? Because probably the person buying the champagne is going to be like, yeah, sure, I want these snacks too, right? But I can also do a version of that on radio, and I can advertise like in terms of basket analysis, related, contextually related products. Get that right. Okay. Right, I think you understand, right? And then obviously I can target more advertisers and put them in there, and I'll be happier, they'll make more money, we'll make more money, and so on and so forth, right? Benefit of any content media platform obviously includes large and varied audiences that we can reach, right? But we can't please everyone all the time. We need to always know that the people that are online are going to be 10 to 1 much bigger. I'm saying to you in terms of, let's say, followers, much bigger than our actual, so the people that listen to the station, right? I'd like to give you like a real, like a hard, like solid answer as to a reason behind it, but I can't because no one really knows why you would, let's say, follow a radio station but not listen to them, right? I would assume people like their online content, right? And then or they've seen some of their online content or their lives or whatever, and just follow them because that's what we do in a social space. I'm saying like a social media space, right? Like you don't care where you're not going to listen to the station just because. Like, so in other words, here's a real, obviously, a real example. A Gauteng radio station will have followers in the Cape, in Durban, and the Free State, etc., and that is very realistic, right? Okay, the data is used to obviously target particular advertising messages, right? Now we're still talking about this PPM involvement in here as well. That could be obviously contributing to this, but we can also get digital, like from our digital activity and presence, we can go to an analytics, right? So all social media platforms offer some kind of analytics, right? So in other words, you can go look at your posts and see who looked at it, who viewed it, who, how long they lasted, if they were male, female, where they were, whatever it may be. But obviously, you would have to use much more advanced like analytics software, right? So, for example, like Google Analytics and so on and so forth, to get like a real great breakdown of reports and trends and whatever it is about those people that are using your different platforms, right? Anyway, sidebar, right? Terrestrial radio stations have limited data, obviously, but we can get really great data, specifically when we do paid for advertising as well. So paid for because you get this mass amount of data if you go and let's say advertise on Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok, right? These massive report backs, and it's great for you, especially as a startup a station or community station. Yeah, obviously, commercial stations do that too when they have a massive client that respects or not respects, expects massive return on investment, etc., etc. So many different situations, right? But then we need to get all those wonderful reports that those particular platforms will spit out and provide you with if you paid for it, right? Okay. So this means that advertisers, right, who are looking for particular users will go to platforms that can guarantee their adverts are being seen by the correct people in order for us as stations to keep making money off advertising, which is 70 to 75% of our total revenue that a station makes is only on advertising, right? Then we will need to move many of our listeners over to digital platforms. Okay. So digital migration and registered users offer media companies data that was obviously we couldn't access that before. It's different forms of data, and we obviously can use that data to apply to different aspects of the knowledge we want to then integrate into our product as a station, right? Okay. So this allows these companies, us, right, to understand users better and definitely, obviously, their habits, right? The process does minimize the wastage, right? But the key is to get users to, as I said, you have to actually get them to sign up or log in to like an app of yours that you see a lot of stations have their own apps, but apps need to be useful. Like, no, we don't just listen to the station on the app. Like, it's got to provide all the podcasts, like fresh new stuff that you can't find, let's say, on the social media platform, right? So for us to, you've got to give us some specials on this or whatever it may be. I don't know. There's many things that we have like obviously membership advantages. Uh, that's the whole point of with anything, right? Okay. Anyway, so you can reference page 429 and 430. I'm just going to put a page over there. 429. 429. 429. So if you do have a look there, and I'll just take a moment so that you can also get there. Let's look at just briefly, right, the social media report. I wish I could just like show you a picture of the. I'm saying like I should put textbook on there right now. Anyway, but it doesn't matter. Let's follow it together, right? You'll see there at the top it says social media report. So, for example, it says well, not for example, the overwhelming majority of users is between 15 and 24 years of age, right? In this like um, makeshift report, I'm saying like not a metaphorical, hypothetical report. Okay. The second largest group is between 25 and 34. The audience is currently 66% female, and top five areas that users are located in rank order are as follows: Cape Town, like CBD, 33%, Cape Town, the Greater Cape Town, 15%, Knysna 12, Johannesburg 5, and Pretoria 4.7. Just as I said to you, like we'd go and you'd find a lot of other followers or whatever it may be, right? In other provinces as well, right? Okay, so I'm not going to read through the whole thing, but let's go down to, let's say, the main content interests, right? In like Africa, business, lifestyle, local news, opinion, politics, sport, and weather. And granular topics are things like, for example, movies, series, celebrities, viral, funny, and entertaining content, educational, university, like governmental topical content. Yeah. Property consumer, obviously, technology, concerts, events, traffic, crime, law, health, and then obviously world. With the turnover, it continues. The example will continue. And you'll see, for example, there are the three stations Facebook, 947, and YFM to actually show you. Because when we now, let's say we have to pitch to a client, we have to pitch, we have to tell them exactly the breakdown of all our followers, like how active they are, how engaging they are. Like numbers are not enough now. The client wants to see exactly like how dedicated, like again, engaged, into immersive, interactive are these particular followers. So I can see whether or not like the impact, right? So the impressions might then also lead to engagements, will then also might lead to an actual customer for that particular client. Okay, nearly done. Right, so the future of digital radio is to use digital measurement data to enable radio programmers to understand each listener, including us on air, right? This is not a management thing. It is a programming thing. It's a station thing, right? It's a station thing, right? Through this digital data mining that we do, stations manage individuals more directly and music for more preferred customized playlists and better able or be better able to understand or be able to better understand their target markets through their obviously web-based activity, their social media, their e-commerce, and so forth, and etc. etc. Right. So closing of diagram here. Nope, not right, Chris. Diagram here. Okay. Differences between the obviously BRC and PPM. There's a quarterly result or quarterly report, immediate with PPM, right? Paper, or pager-like device. 7 days listening, it monitors for a year, and it's dependent on what you remember and write down. And this is obviously more precise. The similarities between the BRC and the PPM devices, all right, the research is that data picked up is collated and weighed up and down to represent a group of people, which then is then flooded, right? So that we can kind of understand better our audience. Once again, right, 427, you need to complete that activity, which is 11B. Question one says, provide an innovative idea to get listeners to move from listening on an FM radio platform to a radio station's mobile app. Explain how you plan to entice the users to log into the app and to provide their email addresses and cell phone numbers, right? Because you know how annoying that is, man. Anyway, number two, discuss the advantages and disadvantages of utilizing PPM technology in South Africa. Consider how PPM measurements would differ from the current paper radio diaries that we are using right now. That is the end of it, end of the week as well. I will see you in class. Stop that share. Please, next weekend, right, have a great week. And so, obviously, I'm recording this on a Wednesday. Have a great week ahead and a great week after that. Till I see you. Cheers. Bye.